Hey, and welcome to the show. Today is our inaugural show, and we're going to be titling Agency Talks. I'm Ken Knorr, the CEO of that company, and I'm really glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here. Although, being it's our first show, I have absolutely 100% confidence that nobody is watching this live stream, which is okay. I'm okay with that because it takes consistency in marketing to go where to be successful, and a first time show is always going to be a little under attended. So it's you and me, or you? No, just me. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to have a little fun today as our kickoff and inaugural show. I'm going to answer or try to tell you a little bit of a story about how that company started, the history of that company. It is a common question that is asked of me when I am on podcasts and doing that kind of podcast tour and all that good stuff. So I thought, hey, that'll be a good kickoff, a good starting point in our new studios. So we've got some new studio equipment here. There's a YouTube studio now at that company, which is kind of cool. It's empty. I'll kind of pan around the room here for a minute and show you that seat 2 has nobody in it and seat 3 has nobody in it. And yeah, it's me. So on the all cams, there's nobody else here. It's just me today. But we're just kind of getting it started up and getting it settled in and figuring out the equipment. And candidly, I was going to kind of practice doing this show. We're using a really neat piece of equipment, a bunch of different neat pieces of equipment, one of which is called an Elgato Stream Deck. And while testing it, I hit the stream button, and I had just set up the whole stream on YouTube to actually go live and be public. And I thought, oops, I guess we'll have to go live and be public. So no practice, just going to wing it and wing it right here, right now. So let me circle in. We're talking about the history of that company. People ask me, how did that company start? What's the total history there? And it's actually very interesting kind of history. And I think before we get into the history of that company, maybe it helps a little bit to know a little bit about me. So I was born. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go that far back. Actually, in a previous life, how did I get into digital marketing? Because the story of how I got into digital marketing actually relates to the story of how that company started. And I think it's an important part of the process. And without that, you won't have the color or understanding of how that company began or why I even started there. So in a previous life, I have been in the technology side of the world for a long time. I'm a computer guy, if you will. Actually, a systems engineer by training. And I took a job in the late 90s with a regional home builder and community developer. We developed retirement communities here in Central Florida. And I started with the company, and the owner of the company looked at me and said, we need to figure out this Google thing. Well, Google was born in 1999, and we had been up to that point working on different things in Yahoo. Yahoo was the king at the time. And so he said, we need to figure out this Google thing. And I'm like, why do we need to figure out this Google thing? We sell retirement communities. We sell custom homes and retirement communities. Old people, they don't use computers. I don't understand. And he said, well, you're wrong. He said, our customer at that time is actually living up north. We're in Florida, and they're thinking about retiring here in Florida. And it's a pretty expensive product. We sell, at that time, $250,000 to $500,000 homes, custom homes. And our potential customer, our prospects, they're sitting up north, and they're white collar workers. And at that time, they're actually sitting at a desk in front of a CRT, in front of a monitor. And that's our target customer. And they're going to use the internet to research where to go and where to retire as they think about retiring in Florida. And they're going to do that research before they come. And they're not just going to come down here like they did in the old days and just drive around and look. It's not going to be about the billboards. It's going to be about the internet. And I said, okay, well, the retirement community industry business. I know computers. And so I looked at the problem of Google as I would look at any technical problem, any kind of issue to solve, process of elimination, reverse engineering. And that's really how I attacked the Google problem. I said it's a software problem. And in its simplest, it is software. Google goes out and looks at inputs, websites all over the place, and outcome outputs a list in a particular order. And so I started working on the problem and trying to understand the Google algorithm and what Google was doing. And I worked with a group of colleagues at the time, kind of away from work. I was just trying to figure it out. And anyway, that journey started in 1999. In 2001, so it was the end of 99, right at the beginning of 2001, just a little over a year later, there was the Super Bowl in January. And if you remember the Super Bowl in January of 2001, there was a wardrobe malfunction. It was where Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunctioned, and she exposed her breast on national TV during the Super Bowl halftime show. Anyway, that happens, and we had been working really hard on this whole algorithm, and I thought, there's my moment. I can prove something. Hang on a second. And I picked up the phone, and I called some friends, and I said, we have our moment. We can prove this. We can prove that we figured out the Google piece. And so short story, the very next morning, my personal website, kenmore.com, ranked number one if you search Janet Jackson's breast. I didn't have anything appropriate on my inappropriate on my website. But I was even more proud that I ranked number 4 for Super Bowl halftime show. And we had taken the rankings overnight. The next day, midday, that same time period, my internet service provider, who was a company in Orlando at the time called Sundial Internet Services, and if you're out there watching this video, somehow run into it. Sundial's long gone. But they used to sell dial-up internet access. It gives you a clue. They called me and they said, well, we got to shut your website down. You're burying us. There's so much traffic come to your website. So many people are coming. You're killing us. You're killing our T1 line. And that was back in the days. Fast was 1.5 meg. And so that was my first kind of venture into figuring out this digital marketing and search engine optimization thing. Well, again, I'll try to shorten this story down because you want to know about that company, not about all this. And so right shortly after that, I took what I learned away from the job and I brought it back to the job. And I took the number 1 ranking for Florida retirement communities. And the little home builder that I was working for that was building 50 homes a year, and I had started as their manager of IT, within just a few short years, we were building 1,000 homes a year. Now, there was a housing boom going on at that time, but you don't go from 50 to 1,000 because of that. We could prove that 74% of all of our home purchases were first contact through the internet. We had created an online marketing phenomenon. I skyrocketed up inside that organization, ultimately graduating from there as the vice president of operations. So I was building 1,000 homes a year. I had land development. I had the construction department. I had the design department. Still had the IT department, the marketing side, pretty much everything within that organization reported in my chain of command except for the sales department and the accounting department. it was a big opportunity to learn, and we went through explosive growth. Like I said, when I joined the company, we were building about 50 homes a year, and we had, I think, about 40, maybe 45 employees. When I left, I had 200 employees on my chain of command. So how did that company start? Well, I had this brilliant idea in May of 2007 that I would take this knowledge that I had, and I had exploded this small home builder, and that I would take this out and I would bring this to other home builders. And I started a company called Buildtelligence Web Solutions. And Buildtelligence Web Solutions is exactly who we are today. We are actually that company. But that company is Buildtelligence Web Solutions, LLC, DBA, that company. We did a rebrand. I'll tell you that in a minute. So I started a company called Buildtelligence Web Solutions. And when I started Buildtelligence Web Solutions, first of all, I wasn't very good at your kind of general marketing. And by that, I created a company name that was hard to pronounce. Everybody wanted to call it Build Intelligence. Nobody could spell it right. And yeah, well, that's what I picked. But we were going to go after home builders. So Buildtelligence was my idea, the concatenation of creating something intelligent for home builders, intelligent marketing for home builders. That was where I began. And that was a good idea. The timing was all wrong. Because in 2008, the home building industry in the United States and really kind of the bubble across the world burst. And we were sitting in arguably the worst financial downturn since the Great Depression. And I had just started a company. Well, we had to immediately pivot 180 degrees, go in a different direction altogether. And when we did that, we decided to become industry agnostic. And we would market to anybody, not just home builders, but to anybody. And so that was kind of the birth of where we moved away from the Buildtelligence side. And we quickly grew. We acquired another company called ppcmanagement.com, and we started offering pay-per-click management services. That was our first flagship product, was online, or what we now refer to as SEM, search engine marketing, paid advertising in Google and Yahoo. And the company that we had acquired to do this, actually their software was being used by Yahoo at one point in their history to manage Yahoo's own house advertising campaigns on the Yahoo platform. So it had a pretty good history, but we took the number one ranking for pay-per-click management, PPC management, all these other keywords around it, and we started to grow. I'll shorten this story down quite a bit because that's how that company started, but how that company evolved into what it is today is a different story, maybe for a different time. And how we became a white label provider is a very interesting story, and I'll ask that you come back and join me another time, and I promise to tell that story. But that was the beginning and the birth of that company, but not quite. We didn't quite finish it. I was still Buildtelligence Web Solutions. Well, we merged with a local ad agency, and we had taken rankings by this point, and this is late 2008. We had taken a lot of rankings, including the acquisition of SEOcompany.com, and had the number one ranking for SEO company and the phrases all surrounding that. We were selling retail. And we merged with a local ad agency. And in those days, SEO was the factors are always changing, constantly changing. But the importance of the domain name mattered at one point. It still does. It's a much smaller factor today. It can help, but it's not like the key factor. It was a huge factor back in 2007 through 2015. That was a very big factor. The domain name mattered a lot. And so we had these, all these rankings. And when we merged with this local advertising agency, we thought, hey, we've taken the top spots for PPC management, pay-per-click management, SEO company. Let's take the top spot nationwide. Before it was a local search. Let's take the top spot nationwide for advertising agency. Well, it would be really cool if we could get advertisingagency.com. Well, we couldn't. So there's another little secret about search engine optimization, and those are what are called stop words or white words. These are words that Google ignores. It pays no attention to. And is and the and a and like those kinds of words are those types of words that Google ignores. Well, one of those words is that. And so we knew that. And so we were able to get that advertisingagency.com. Nobody had it. And in essence, Google would, because it would ignore the word that, would treat that advertisingagency.com almost the same as it would treat and call it or think of it as advertisingagency.com. And so that was our play. We got that advertisingagency.com, and an employee looked at me and said, well, can we become that company? That would be neat. We could become that company. I thought, yeah. So we went out and looked, and sure enough, thatcompany.com actually was already owned. It was owned by somebody in Texas. And we hunted them down, and we called them, and we said, hey, we want to buy thatcompany.com from you. He says, I've lost my, I don't even know what email address. I've lost my registrar account. I can't find it. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not interested in helping you. I'm not, whatever. Well, it was set to expire in only a few weeks. I mean, just such incredible luck of timing. It was set to expire in just a few weeks. So we watched it, and as soon as it expired, we poached it, picked it up. It's not really poached when you pick it up from somebody who's letting it go and intentionally letting it go. So we got thatcompany.com, and the rest is history. That's when we became That Company. We rebranded in late 2008 to become That Company. So there it is. There's the history and the story of That Company, a little bit of history on how I got here, and really glad that I got to tell that story. And I hope that you come back and join us on Agency Talks. Agency Talks is going to be a show where we talk about running a digital marketing agency. We talk about what it takes to do it, what it takes to be successful. We'll give you history stories about what we did and how we did it, but more importantly, how others are doing it today. It's a dynamic and a changing industry. And invite you to tune in. We're going to have some really interesting conversations on this show, and we're going to try to do it every Friday afternoon. Consistency is key in marketing, and I don't even like the word try. In fact, I think on the wall back behind me somewhere, there's a sign with the word try with a no symbol through it. We're not going to try. We're going to broadcast on, stream this out on Friday afternoons. We'll get consistent and more consistent as we go. But thanks a lot for watching this. I'll take a look. I don't think we had anybody actually during the stream here. But why not? We'll go look. I have a viewer. Get out. One viewer. First inaugural stream, one viewer. It's you. Thanks for being here, that one with me. Everybody else have to watch it on playback. But it was great to have you. I don't know who you are. Here with me on our inaugural stream of Agency Talks. And I hope you guys tune in next time. Have a great one.